Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors go out to the apostles, elders, the great millstone who rule and teach well. Shalom wa barakyam to you brothers and sisters out there. This is the brother Malachi from the Great Millstone Nashville camp. And Lord willing, that this lesson is edifying to the hopeful elect. Alright, it's snowing. Which none of it's sticking, but I keep hearing about this winter, going to be real bad, which I'm always optimistic about it, because I don't want to deal with the fucking icy ass roads and all that shit, especially with my job, circumstance, because I'm a driver, I drive delivery, but hey, prophecy, there's no prophecy that particularly says winter storm, but that's part of plagues, right? So if we end up getting record cold temps and a whole bunch of snow, that's going to really fuck some shit up. And that's all Yahweh Bashmal Shai bringing plagues upon America. We see all these different illnesses that they're starting to mention now that the flu season is either here or around the corner. I'm not really too sure. And I agree with what the elder from Kansas City had said in his recent video about the winter storms. He said really, winter started December 1st. Really, I agree with that. I don't know why the hell they're saying it starts at the end of December, but it's snowing and it's fucking, it ain't cold as hell, but it's like 30s. Which, I was born and raised in Minnesota, so which I got used to the more down south weather now, but it's there's definitely places way worse than this, but this ain't fall. Fall would be maybe like 50s. I would say maybe even high 40s, like 48. But the fact that it changed so fast, we didn't have a fall. We didn't really have a fall last year either. It just shows that the weather is it's being messed with, man. The weather's being messed with. We're in the end times. Everything's bugged out. Everything's confusing. Everything's weird. And that's really a beautiful thing. That's a good thing. Because all that means and all that tells us is that Yahweh Shai is going to be coming back very soon. And that's what we're waiting for, right? We don't want to be here for another 10, 15, 20 years. We don't want to be here for another 4 or 5 years. Lord willing, we get out of here in 2026, but God knows, literally only God knows, right? Like it says in Matthew 24, Yahweh Shai doesn't even know, when he's coming back. All right, but we're looking at all these things that's going on, and it's very apparent that Yahweh Shai is coming back soon, man. In the C-hip, the microchip implant, which is the mark of the beast that will be mandated in our lifetime. Lord willing, in the next year, next 2 years. Right, we can see that they're constantly using gradualism, and we know Revelations 12:12. They're going to have to come down with that great wrath because their time is short. They can't, they have bounds that they can't pass. Right, the Lord has a appointed time for all these things to happen. Though it tarry, wait for it, like it says in Habakkuk. And a big topic recently is persecution. Being falsely accused, and these are things that. Don't be surprised when it happens to you. And it's around the corner. It really is. But we just got to take it on the chin, all right? Because just like, if you're a boxer and once you step in that ring, you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get hit, man. You're gonna get hit with a cross, with an uppercut, with a hook, a body shot. You're gonna get hit. It's part of the game, But you don't have to. You don't have to get. It's only saying. I'm not. You already know how this shit works. We ain't even going fast, and I ain't nowhere near. So, Lord, when that doesn't disrupt the lesson, so I'm going to just go back even further. That's just Satan, brother. It wasn't saying it the whole damn time. But you don't have to get knocked out, though. Getting knocked out is not part of this thing here. All right, we're going to have to suffer persecution and and we're going to have to, being joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, like it says in Romans the 8th chapter, I believe the 17th verse, we're going to have to suffer with him, right? But it's all things that we're going to be able to endure, right? What is that? 1 Corinthians 10 and 13, I believe. The Lord is not going to put us in a situation that's going to be more than what we can handle. If you're part of the elect, which Lord willing we are, Lord willing we are part of the remnant that's going to get saved. Us and our households. Because if we are of the elect, we're not going to be put in a situation to where we're going to give in and take the chip. We're not going to get put into a situation where we're going to sin foolishly with our lips. We're not going to get put into a situation where, we're going to lose faith and delete ourselves. And, nothing like that. Okay? The Lord knows how much you are able to take. He's going to give you the spirit to be able to deal with whatever you got to deal with. And we're going to get through it at the end of the day. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be fucked up, And like Yahweh Shai said, pray that your flight be not in the winter. But I'm going to be honest, man. I don't want to even, no, of course, no disrespect to Yahweh Shai. Duh, right? I mean, we completely understand why Yahweh Shai said that, but I don't want this shit getting prolonged, bro. If this shit's gonna happen in fucking the middle of December or late December, when it's fucking cold as shit, whatever, then so be it. It's got to happen eventually. And it's not like it's going to be comfortable regardless, whether it's, in summer or winter or fall or spring. It could be any of the 4 seasons. It's still Jacob's trouble at the end of the day. But we know Yahweh Shai, ultimately he was, talking about 70 AD. And, you don't want to be on the run and be a pilgrim in the winter. That's the worst time. Absolutely. The winter is the worst time to be a pilgrim on the earth. So we completely understand why he said that. But especially here now, Jacob's trouble, it says, Daniel 12, right? This is going to be the worst time to come upon the earth. The time of JT, Jeremiah 30 and 7, but he shall be saved out of it. He being the elect, right? Not just literally men, but men, women, and children, of the nation of Israel only. All right, not heathens. Some of them may look like heathens, but they're not heathens according to race, according to their patrilineal, which is how race is determined according to the Heavenly Father, according to the scriptures, the Bible. Okay? And that's another thing, I'm gonna just put this out there too, because with these other camps, for you camps out there that teach you are what your father is, why don't you have any so-called Asian, so-called white, so-called East Indian, etc. looking people in your camps? You mean to tell me there ain't a so-called white boy out there that got a black grandfather or great-grandfather that you know? It's because we know that a lot of you guys, man, you're set up, bro. You want to push this black-only agenda, and that was the Black Panther Party. That ain't this. That ain't the House of David. That ain't the sanctuary of Yahweh Shai. Okay? Get that through your head. All right, black people, so-called, are the, definitely a big portion, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, of course. So-called black people being the Southern Kingdom, and especially Judah, the head tribe, of course. But there's going to be Israelites that will look like the other nations, and you other camps need to understand that, okay? Because especially the times that we're coming into, you're going to see more and more of them wake up, especially when these miracles come out, man. And some of them out there, they're hiding behind a screen because they're ashamed. And they don't want to go out there. And my message to you Israelite foreigners out there is go out there, man. Do the work. All right? Don't be ashamed of the gospel. Well, I look white. Who gives a fuck, man? All right? Who gives a fuck? They were trying to say that Yahweh Shai was doing witchcraft and that he had demons on him and all that. Who gives a fuck what people think about you, man? I'm no elder or nothing. I ain't, I'm a babe in this thing. But look, I've been going out in the streets and I've been teaching the word, and I'm a so-called white person, man. Who gives a fuck? Okay, because it's not about how you look. You got so-called black people that are Edomites. Let that sink in. So don't worry about that, man. You need to make your calling in the election sure. If the Spirit is on you as an Israelite foreigner male, you know, because we know women have their role, but it's not teaching. I'm speaking to the men right now. If you're an Israelite foreigner male, you need to get in, and the Spirit is on you to do the work. Do the work, man. Okay, do the work. And I'm not saying just doing videos or screen recorded videos and no, bro. No, you need to make your face known. Okay? You need to make your face known. For you know, when I first started going out, you know, up in Minnesota, I was in the middle of nowhere. I was just out there on a fucking street. Nobody, there wasn't even cars, barely ever anybody at all. I was still teaching the word, man. Prophesying to the wind. Okay? And I didn't record majority of them because I just had my one phone and I was using that for scriptures and paraphrasing. And then especially when it's cold, fucking phone would die, you know, fast as shit in minutes sometimes even. You know, but it's about the effort. Okay? It's all about the effort, man. You got to do the work. You got to. You can't just skate by. And that's especially, you know, with Jacob's trouble. We can't just skip Jacob's trouble and go straight to the kingdom of heaven. That would be fantastic, but that's not how this thing works, man. You got to be in this thing to win it. You know, whatever suffering and pain we have to go through to get to the kingdom of heaven, it's going to be worth it. All right, like it says in 2 Ezra 7, though, it's a tight, narrow path. All right, Matthew 7 as well. That straight gate, S-T-R-A-I-T. It's going to be uncomfortable. You got to get used to being uncomfortable. You know, and that's the thing, you know, it's not like if you decide to be in the world and just continue to worship idols and all that you're not going to get uncomfortable and you're just going to be chilling. No, everybody is about to be uncomfortable, whether you're serving Yahweh B'Shem Shai or not. So you might as well be uncomfortable doing the right thing. You might as well be uncomfortable being under the shadow of the Almighty. So you can have that protection, that secret place, Psalms 91. You see? So, you know, I just wanted to put that up, and I know it wasn't, you know, much to it, but Lord willing is edifying, exhorting, you know, to whoever, you know, if anybody, you know, watches this video, which we're not here for the views either. So, you know, it's all about just doing the work, it's the effort. You know, the Wadi Yahweh Shemel Shai for allowing me to make this lesson. You know, it's a good use of your time serving the Lord, you know. So before I close, I want to say call hello, Yahweh B'Shem Shai. The honor is the Apostle Elder Greg Millstone. Shalom.